Okay, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to get everybody back on here, but we're having a little issue with our air conditioning, and that was my friends over at Farrell Air who always come through for us, and they were calling back to see if it came back on and if they needed to come out and help us, which I have a feeling we're still going to need them to come out because it's a little bit out of our wheelhouse and knowing how to fix the air, even though it's a minor thing. So anyway, so back to what we were doing. I am trying to get everybody tagged so everyone that was here watching knows that I'm back up. We're making these little gift card bags so that we can sorry, I have a hard time talking and doing this at the same time. All right, so anyway, we're making these cute little gift bags, and these are the ones that I had made earlier this month for a couple of different things that we were doing. I'm sorry, Diane. No, I would never delete you. Your house is going to be beautiful. I know that you're going through a heck of a time getting it built, but it's going to be so well worth it after it's done. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait to see it finished. So, I would never delete you. Anyway, so these are the coffee ones that I made, and I had some coffee themed paper, made the coffee embellishment, and now we're going to do a Christmas one, and I'll show you how to make this cute little embellishment to go on it. So these are just little pocketbook looking gift card holders, and it fits a nice little gift card in there. It's just the right size for the gift card. So let's get the camera turned down to the workstation and see what we can learn. Okay. You focused in. All right, so for our project tonight, I'm using 2 different sheets of paper, but if you want to do it, you can do it all from one sheet of 12 by 12 paper. But what I did was I am using some plain cardstock to do the inside so that I can highlight it a little bit different. So as far as the chipboard's concerned, we're going to need 2 of the pieces of chipboard that measure 3 inches by 5 inches, 1 piece of chipboard that measures 1.5 by 5 inches, 1 piece of chipboard that measures 1 inch by 5 inches, and then 1 piece of chipboard that measures 1/2 inch by 5 inches. And then I'm using the Designer Series paper from Stampin' Up! And I absolutely love the Stampin' Up! Paper. I think I've told you it's the quality of it just doesn't crack or anything. It's just so nice to work with. So this is the Stampin' Up! Paper that we'll be using, and you're going to need any type of Designer Series type paper, or themed paper that measures 6 by 12. And then you're going to need your inside liner, which is going to be 4.5 by 9.25. And I'm choosing to use some plain cardstock because I think it'll look really nice with the Designer Series paper, the snowflakes. And then to make your embellishment, you need a piece of paper 11 inches long and 1.5 inches wide. And I'll show you how to do that. And then to make your handle, you're going to take you really only need 6 inches of it, but I do the whole 11 inches by 1 inch. And then you need 2 pieces that measure 3.5 inches by 2.5 inches. And we're going to start with the handle and these. We're going to get these scored. Just set everything else aside. I'm going to get my scoreboard. All right, so with your 2.5 by 3.5 inch pieces of paper, you're going to score on the 2 long sides and then on one of the short sides at 1/2 inch. So you're going to score at 1/2 inch and then 2 inches. And then you're going to turn it and score 1 time at 1/2 inch. So you're going to make like a U. And you're going to do that twice. So at a 1/2 inch and at 2 inches, turn it and a 1/2 inch. Now for the handle, this is the same way that I make the handles for the other bags that I've made. I take my 1-inch piece of cardstock and I put it in my scoreboard, and I don't score it at 1/4. I go to 3/8 of an inch and I score it down. Ooh. And then I go to 3/4 of an inch and I score it down. And that just makes it so that when it folds together nice. All right, so we're done with the scoreboard for now. When we do the embellishment, we're gonna have to get that out again. So I'm gonna set that aside, and I'm gonna glue together our handle first so that it has some time to dry. All right. So you take your cardstock, and where you put your scores, you're gonna do your fold, and then we're gonna get out our wet glue. And of course, I'm using my art glitter glue. You're gonna see when you score it at 3/8 and 3/4, you're gonna have 2 sections that are 3/8 inch wide, and then you're gonna have 1 section that's only 1/4 of an inch wide. Start with that 1/4 of an inch wide one first and put glue on that, because that's gonna be on the inside. And doing your handles this way instead of just cutting them and making them only 1 layer thick gives you a lot more strength with your handles. All right, so I like to take my bone folder and mash that glue in. Get it pressed down really well. All right, and then we're gonna take our other side and we're gonna put glue on that side. And then while we're putting the rest of the bag together, this will have plenty of time to sit and dry. It's always easier to work with it after it's dried up. All right, so now we've got our handle together. Now we're only gonna need 6 inches of this, so I'm gonna take my scissors here and cut it at 6 inches. And then I'm gonna take my bone folder and just give it a little press like this so that it can start to work on its bend there. Okay, so you just take your bone folder and go around like that. All right, so we're gonna set that aside so that can dry. Now we're gonna take our cardstock and get that laid down on our 6 by 12 inch piece of designer series paper. All right, so with your chipboard, I'm sorry, I said we're gonna lay our cardstock on our designer series paper. That's not at all what we're gonna do. We're going to lay our chipboard. And I need to move the camera just a little bit so you can see me a little better here. We're gonna lay our chipboard down on our designer series paper, and we're gonna lay it out. We're gonna have a 1/2 inch all the way around, and we're gonna probably need to trim off a little bit here at the end. So we've got our 3 by 5, and I have a horrible time getting, yes, this one, getting my double-sided tape to come off, so I always use my weeding tool from my Cricut to do it. But you can, I've seen people use their cutting blade to do it, a pin, anything if you have a hard time to get it off. So we're gonna put double-sided tape on one side of your chipboard, and I already applied it to all of my chipboards so that you didn't have to sit here and watch me do that. And like I said, we're gonna give ourselves about a 1/2 inch border all the way around so that when we fold it over, we have plenty of paper to work with. All right. So we're gonna lay a 3 by 5 down first, and then we're gonna lay our 1.5 by 5. Next, and give yourself about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little over 1/8 of an inch, but not quite 1/4. Give yourself plenty of room between your chipboards so that when you're folding your designer series paper, it's got plenty of room to work. All right, then the next one we're going to lay down is our second 3 by 5. then we're going to put our 1/2 inch by 5 down. So these, of course, are your sides. This is your bottom. This is your very top. And then our 1 by 5, this is the flap that goes over so that it can, I am just so bad at getting the back of this tape off. There we go. All right, so this is the flap that's going to fold over that we put our embellishment on, and then we can put some Velcro there, and that's what holds it down. All right, so our 1 by 5 is our last piece of chipboard that we're going to lay down. Okay, and then I take my bone folder, make sure it's all worked down pretty well. Now, you've got about 1.5 inches here. You can cut that off, trim it, which I think I'm going to do. I'll get my finger blade over here, and I'm just going to take about 1 inch off so that it's even all the way around. You don't have to. It's not enough that's really going to interfere with the design of the bag or anything. So after we get all of our chipboard down, the next thing we're going to do is take our double-sided tape, and I'm going to take my 1/2 inch double-sided tape, and I'm going to go all the way around here, and I'm going to lay it down on the chipboard. On the long sides, I'm going to put it right on the chipboard. On the short sides, I'll put it right on the paper. And that's just the way I like to do it. That's not saying you have to do it. You can use your wet glue for this section as well, for this part of the assembly. But I like to use my double-sided tape, and then that way it goes a little bit quicker. All right, so now you're going to miter your corners. And that's so that you're taking some of the bulk out from when you fold it over. If you don't miter the corners, then here in the corners, the paper is really thick, and it just takes away from the overall finish of your bag. All right, so I always like to start with the long ends when I'm putting these together. And the same thing when I'm doing the books, or if I'm doing any of the boxes. For some reason, I like to start with the long end. You can start with the short end if you wish. All right, so let's get a fold on our paper, and then get that stuck down to our chipboard. Okay. And this extra tape that's hanging out here, this sticky, don't worry about that because you're putting a liner over top of it anyway, so it'll just help the liner stick. All right, I got two more. I'm gonna get all this thrown away. I hate having scraps of paper all over the place when I'm working. It's the same thing when I'm cooking. I like to clean as I'm going along. All right, so get your short ends folded over as well. All right, now, once they're folded over, you're not going to lay your liner piece down yet. You're gonna do your sides. Now, these are the 2.5 by 3.5 pieces that we put a score mark at 1/2 inch on 3 of the sides. So we're going to take our finger blade, or you can take scissors, and you're just gonna cut out these little corners right here where your score marks join. And I give it a little bit of an angle cut. I don't cut it right along my I don't cut it right along the score line. I give it a little bit of an angle cut, and this way again it takes away some of that bulk that's in there. All right, so let's do that on both of these pieces of paper. Making sure you can see me here. Now let's fold and varnish our score marks. On both of these. And don't forget, if I'm going too fast or if you missed a step, you can always leave me a comment, or you can message me. I usually end up posting these in quite a few of the different crafting groups that I belong to. So if there's any missteps or if there's something you didn't understand, just leave me a message. I'll be more than happy to answer for you. All right, so we're not putting our liner piece down yet. What we want to do is get our side pieces glued down, so this way when we put our liner piece down, it covers up all of the mess. All right, so we're going to take our wet glue, and that's been sitting for a second. Now, one thing about the art glitter glue, if you let it sit, you have to clean out your little tip here. And I love this little metal tip that I put on the edge here because it gives you a finer bead of glue. All right, so we're going to take these sides. We're going to take this bottom piece. So remember, we scored on 3 sides, 2 long and 1 short. We're going to put glue on the short side. And we're going to glue that down on the 1.5 by 5 inch. Remember, I said that was going to be the bottom. All right, so let's get that glued down. Let that sit for a second, and we'll do the other side. Okay. Now once they're glued down, before we fold the box up, now we're going to put our liner piece down. All right, so forgot to do this. So what I like to do is I take my double-sided tape. Now I haven't seen this on Amazon lately, but this is 2-inch thick double-sided tape. I've been looking for it. They've been sold out of it. I don't know if it's the crazy COVID holdup of products, but as soon as we get more in, because my roll's getting kind of thin. All right, so we're going to take our double-sided tape and we're going to lay that down over top of the chipboard. You can take your wet glue and cover your whole piece of liner paper. However, I love using the double-sided tape because it just makes it so smooth and so much easier to work with when you're laying that liner piece down. All right, so once you get your double-sided tape, of course, I need my little weeding tool so I can get the backing off. Okay. Then we're going to take the wet glue and we're going to go around the edge of our liner. All right, so you want to get a nice bead of glue around the edge because you don't want those edges lifting. See, I let that sit. Now I got another little clog here. And all you do when you get a clog is you take your pin, kind of plunge it a little bit, and there you go. There we go. Now, this apparently has a big clog in it that I'm going to have to fix. So I'm going to get my other little bottle of it out. There we go. And I'm going to put my bead of glue all the way around. All right. So once you've got your bead of glue down, you've got your double-sided tape, you're going to get this laid down. Now this, you should only have about 1/8 of an inch on all sides. There we go. My bone folder, get it pressed down. See, and it looks much cleaner now instead of you putting these on top of it. This way it's looking much cleaner. All right, so now once you've gotten your liner piece laid down, once your liner paper's laid down. Now, if you have any of the glue seep out, remember the art glitter glue is going to dry clear. But you can just wipe it up, and I can't find my paper towel. Usually I always have a little piece of paper towel, so let me get another one. And I just go around the edge, make sure it's all cleaned up. All right, so we're gonna take our bone folder and we're gonna find those sections where the folds are gonna be. Now remember, it's 1 inch, a half an inch, 3 inches, and an inch and a half, and then the other 3 inches. So knowing approximately where they are makes it a little bit easier. But as soon as you start working with it, you start to feel where those folds are supposed to go. Especially here where you've glued your sides in, you know that the folds are there. All right, so you've got your folds in. And again, this paper from Stampin' Up, it's so nice to work with. You can really fold it pretty far and it not do any cracking. Some of the cheaper papers that you get, you'll notice it cracks, but that's okay because I have a little trick on taking some glue and putting on there, and then sometimes I take my ink and I highlight over things so it blends it in so you don't even see those little misfortunes. All right, so now that we've got our folds in here, we're going to put our sides up and we're going to glue them in place. All right, so I like to do one side at a time, so we're going to get these sides done first. I'm going to take my glue, put on my edge here. Let's get that glued down. Take your bone folder and work that glue in. Okay. And we're going to get the other side. And make sure you get plenty of glue on there because you don't want it popping apart. Okay. Use my paper towel, come back and wipe up any of that extra glue that's seeped out. Now we're going to glue these sides down. And I like to do that one side at a time so that you know exactly what you're working with. And it's so much easier doing it that way instead of trying to fit the second side in after you get the first side glued up there. All right, so we've got plenty of glue on there. And we're just going to bring this side up and then make sure everything is in line. And then we're going to take our bone folder again and get it pressed down on both sides. I did pretty good on this one. I didn't have any glue seep out. All right. So really work that glue in, make sure everything's in there nice and snug. Now, this is when I like to pinch these sides so that, because see how it's bigger at the bottom and smaller at the top? So after you get them glued in there, you just kind of push in on the sides a little bit and pinch that top. Okay? All right, now we're going to take our little Velcros and get these put on here. Now I like to use both my wet glue and my hot glue when doing these little Velcros because they are sticky, but they're just not sticky enough. So on our flap that goes over, I'm going to put a dot of glue on each side and get our Velcro stuck in on there. All right. And then let's let that dry before we go on any further. All right, so I'm gonna set that aside. Let's work on our embellishment. All right, so I told you were gonna need a 1.5 by 11 inch piece of paper to make the embellishment. And what you need to do is score it at every 1/4 of an inch. So I've scored this one every 1/4 of an inch, and you can stop there. However, if you want it to have that little decorative edge around, sorry, the camera's really shaking. So if you want to have that extra decorative edge around, after you've scored it, don't cut it don't punch out the decorative edge first, because when you're scoring it, you can get your score tool, the little ball, caught in the little holes. But before you fold it after you've scored it, you're going to punch out your decorative edge. And what I did is I've got a bunch of different punches that just do edges. And this one, I think, does the nicest job for this. So this is the one I like to use. And you just go along the edge and punch out all of your side there. And that's what gives you that really pretty edging. These are called rosettes, and kind of like, you know, first place ribbons. There we go. But these are just for embellishments. No ribbon. But you do win a little prize, especially if you're putting it on this. All right, so after you get your little decorative edge out, you're going to fold it. Now you're going to do, we call them mountain and valley folds. And that's why you score it at every 1/4 of an inch. And you just get this folded. And every so often I give it a really good squeeze so that it's in there. And when I do that, I kind of make sure that it's nice and even by pressing it down on the table. Make sure all of them are even before I squeeze it. Sorry, I know this part's kind of like watching paint dry. It's almost there. All right. So just to show you what I mean by a mountain and valley fold, you're making like little M's or little W's there. All right. So now you're going to glue these together. I'm just going to take some wet glue and I'm going to put it on one mountain on both sides. And then I'm going to take another mountain and put it right over top there. Okay. So once that's pressed together, this is the silicone mat from Stampin' Up! And the reason I like to use this when I'm doing any of the glue, because nothing sticks to it. And when you get glue on these, it's pretty hard to get it off. So these silicone mats, nothing at all sticks to it. So I use that whenever I'm doing any precise gluing projects. All right, so after you've gotten this glued together, you're just gonna flatten it out. And then you're gonna take, I punched out a 2-inch circle, and that's what we're going to use for the back. See how you just put it on the back there? That way it holds it together. So what I do is I take my hot glue and I just put a bead around the hole in the center. Let it cool just a little bit. I actually burnt my hand the last one I did. And then you're going to take your circle and put over top of it. Now, while it's drying, you're going to flip it over before it's too dry, and you're going to press the center together so that it's a little bit tighter. Now remember, your hot glue dries extremely quick, so you have to move kind of quickly. All right, so we've got that put together. Then what I did on these, at the end of the season last year, after Christmas, I got for, oh my golly, I think they were 90% off. I may have spent, let's see here. There's no price on the packet, but I think they were like $4. I ended up spending like 20 cents on the pack of snowflakes. And then I've got a pack of the snowmen, and I just put them together in here. But after we put our little rosette together, I'm gonna take one of my snowflakes here and pull that off. Now these again, they're sticky, but they're not going to stick real well to those mountain and valley folds. So I'm going to take a bead of hot glue and put around the center of that. And I'm going to place this right here in the center of my rosette. Get that to stick down there well. And then to cover up the center of that, I'm going to use these cute little snowmen. I'm so ready for Christmas. All right, put some more hot glue on there. And then we're just going to put that right in the center of our snowflake. And then we've got all these hot glue cobwebs sneaking around. Oh, a really good idea on how to get rid of these hot glue cobwebs. You take your, I do embossing on some of the paper. You take your heating tool and just go over it really quick and it melts all those little hot glue cobwebs away. All right, so after we get our snowman and our snowflake on there, it's ready to use. All right, so our Velcro on that side should be nice and dry. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take the hot glue again and we're going to put a little dab on there so that we can close this and they'll stick really well. But after this all dries, we'll be able to open it up because it's just Velcroed together. All right, so now this is on there. Can you see in there where the Velcro is? All right, so we'll turn that over and let that dry. Something a little bit heavy to put on there so it doesn't go anywhere. This just isn't heavy enough. Got another punch. All right, so that's going to sit and dry for a second. Now we're going to take our handle that we had made earlier, and remember we put the little bit of a curve in it, but we need to take about a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch and bend on both of these sides. And then we're going to be able to put that down on the top of our bag. Okay, see that? You got the little bend in there. All right, so that's curved and bent. Let's make sure that curves nice and curvy. All right, so this should be cooled enough that it's dry. So now what we're going to do is get our handle on the top here. So we put the little feet on there, and that's where I'm going to put my glue. Let's get that centered and sat down right there on the top of the bag. A little bit of seepage. Now, what I've done is, see on the top, after I glue my handle down, I take some brads and I poke a hole in there. And it's more or less for decorative, but it gives it a little bit more sturdiness as well. So if I'm going to pick it up, I never have to really worry about the handle falling off because I've used these brads to go through and it's holding the handle on there as well. So what I do to do that is I have my piercing tool and this little piece of foam, and we're just going to poke some holes in there. So now that our Velcro should be nice and dry, there we go. See, now we can open it up and we don't have to worry about them coming apart now because we used that extra bit of hot glue there. You can also use wet glue if you've got enough time to set it aside and let it dry. But I like using the hot glue because it works just as well, and it's easier to get things done quickly. All right, so we're going to take and we're going to poke 2 holes in here. So right there in the center of those little feet that we just glued down, we're going to poke or pierce a hole on both of them. Okay, once those holes are pierced, I have little mini brads, and I get these at Michael's in the paper section. And these are the mini ones. These are the larger ones that you may see that you can get in a office supply store like Office Depot or Staples. These are the regular brads that you see for there. They come in silver or gold, but in the craft stores you can get these little tiny mini brads. I even have brads that look like buttons. I've got them in all different colors. I've got them in black and gunmetal, brass, gold, but we're going to use silver because those little snowflakes that we made for our embellishment, silver. And then you just take them, pop them in your little hole that you just pierced on there, and then you open them up. I like to take my bone folder after I've got it opened and really press it down there so that it's nice and flat so that you don't get caught on anything. And then we're going to do that on the other side. Press that down. Voila! See how much nicer that looks? Just gives it a little bit of a finished look and then gives you a little bit more security. Put our little embellishment on here that we made. And what I do is I take some hot glue and I just put it on there. Make sure that you're putting it on this top flap here. Just wiggle it until it's nice and set, and there you go. And that's it. So now you've got a little gift card holder, something cute to give your little gift cards away in, and then they can reuse them. If you're going to do it for grandkids or something, they're super cute, so the little girls can use them as little purses. You don't have to use feminine papers. You can make more masculine papers and make it like a briefcase instead of putting the embellishment on there. Maybe even put little buckles or something so that it looks like a little briefcase if you need to make it for a gentleman. All right, so that's everything. I thank you, and as always, I hope I've inspired you to craft something. And wow, I've got a lot of people watching. Phoebe and Julie. Oh, Julie. Yes, I do have my own business. I've been selling my crafts at Lisa's Pieces in downtown Newport Richey. It's a beautiful artisan shop. She's got so many things. There's something there for everybody. But you can let her know that you're looking for the cards and the boxes from Crafts by Kathleen, and she'll show you where my stuff is. So thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you again real soon. Bye.